Okay, in this video, I am going to export a Realtrac report into Excel and do some subtotaling and some sorting on it to do some easy analysis and see what kind of fun things we can do when we combine Realtrac and Excel. So we're going to do it for our work session report because we want to kind of play around with some work session stuff. So I'm going to go into my work session group here. Before the video started, I customized our work session review report, which is a stock report, and I added this PO number column because I want to do some sorting based upon that and some grouping and whatnot. So you'll see not all my jobs have POs, but some of them do. So this will be good enough for our review and this video right now. So this is how the report looks, but I'm going to export it right to a text file, a CSV file, and not show the report, and we're just going to work on it in Excel. So I just wanted to give you an idea of how it looked before we do that step. All right, so I'm going to minimize that. And from within our work session review screen, I'm going to click on our reports button. I've already selected and made default my customized report that I just made a minute ago before I started the video. This work session review with PO is a customized work session review report. So to get started, I'm going to click on our export button, and I'm going to choose the CSV file. That strips out a lot of the formatting and stuff that happens if you choose the Excel. Which it looks fine and pretty in Excel, but it makes it a little more difficult to play around with the numbers. So sometimes it's easier to choose the CSV and then just pull it into Excel and you just get the raw numbers. So let's click the accept button. And I'm connected remotely to a Realtrac server here. So this is going to take a second. So I'll pause the video and we'll hop back as soon as we're ready for the next step. Okay, so as part of the export now, we get to name our file here. It's finally done. So I'm going to just call this work session review, put it on my desktop with PO. So I'm going to save that, and my Realtrac's going to think for a second here as it starts exporting out the file. So I'll pause one more second. This will happen a lot quicker on your local machine, and we'll pick right up with the file. Okay, so my text file has been created here on my desktop. So I'm going to minimize and close out of our work session review because we don't need to do much there anymore from this point on. We're going to go over to the Excel side. So here's my text file. So first I'm going to fire up Excel. I happen to have Excel 2007 on this machine. These steps are actually a little easier, I think, on the newer version, 2010 and 2016 or whatever the latest and greatest is. But the process is going to be very similar for both of them. So let's open up our file. I'm going to point Excel to the desktop. I'll have to change my filter so I can pull in the text file. So as I change it to all files, those options might differ a little bit with different versions of Excel, but it's all generally the same idea. Switch to all files or text files. And you should be fine. There's a text files option as well. So we're going to select the report that we just exported and open it up. So when you do that, Excel notices that this is a text file, a CSV file, and it's going to ask us for how it wants us to break it up. So this first step, everything's fine. It is a delimited file. And we want to tell it that it's separated by commas. So with that set being chosen, we can say next. We get some other options to format it nicely, but we don't really need to do those for what we're going to achieve here. Click the finish button, and you can see it pulls in all of our information nicely formatted with each column and all of our data. The one thing it doesn't do is it doesn't give us a header. So I'm just going to manually do that for this video. You won't really need to do that in real life if you already know what all the data fields mean and what they correspond to, and most of them are pretty simple. But just to make it clear for what we're about to do, sorting and grouping and also subtotaling, I'm going to put in some headers. So I know this is our job number. I believe this is our drawing number, part number. This is our op number, employee. This is minutes of work, or it's the length of the work session, or time that they were active. Let's double click on these and give us our full headers. And I can review back to this. And then we've got break, number of pieces, number of scrap, and PO number. So we'll put in break minutes, pieces, scrap, and PO number. Again, not really necessary, but it'll make it easier for the steps we're about to do here to have them labeled a little bit. So my first step is I want to sort everything by PO number and then by my employee, because I actually want to create subtotals for each PO number for how much time my employee spent on each of these POs that they worked on. So my customer's PO number is going to be kind of the key thing. So in order to do that, I'm going to click and drag and select all of my columns because I want to sort everything and keep everything kind of in one piece together. So I selected A through J, so all of our columns that are shown. You may have more columns, just depending on what you've exported. And we're going to switch over to our data ribbon. Again, where you click in newer versions of Excel might differ a little bit, but I believe it's called data still in the newer, latest and greatest versions. So from this point on, we're going to do a sort, and we're going to do a multiple level sort. So I'm going to click on this sort button, and I want to do first, I want to sort everything by my PO number, and I want them all grouped together. So I'm going to sort, and I'm going to select PO number. If I didn't do the label at the beginning, it would, instead of PO number here, it would say column J. So that's the big reason why I did the headers, just it makes it a little bit easier and more obvious what you're sorting by when you do this option. So first I'm going to sort by PO number, and that's going to clump everything together. And then I want to do kind of a subsort or a second level sort for when our PO numbers are the same. I want it sorted by my employee. So I'm going to select employee. So again, if I didn't label my columns, it would have said column E at this point in time. So I've kind of got a two-level sort going on, and I can hit OK here, and it will do the sort as I want. So we can see, for example, PO number 1617, Leslie Security here logged into several different operations and did time on each of those. So I want to kind of sum up a subtotal line for this PO and this employee, the total amount of time. And it'll be in minutes, but you could do some wizardry with the Excel to just divide that out by 60, and that would give you the hours. So let's do our next step here where we're going to add a subtotal. So again, we're going to stay in this data column, and I'm going to again select all of my columns, A through J, and then I'm going to go to the subtotal option. At this point in time, I want to say every time my employee name changes, because I'm already doing a second level sort by that, then I want to do trigger a subtotal line right underneath that. So that should get us exactly what we're kind of looking for here. So I want to say each time my employee changes, I'm going to do a sum. And I don't want to do it on the PO number. That doesn't really make any sense. But I can sum up the amount of scrap, the number of pieces, their break time, as well as their work time. It doesn't make sense to really sum up ideas like job numbers and things. These are the numbers we want to kind of subtotal up. So it's just that easy. Let's click the OK button and see how this looks. So as we mentioned, here's PO 1617. We're still sorted by that. That's our PO number here in column J. And we're totaling up Leslie's time with PO 1617, and that was 159 minutes. And she also had 49 minutes of break, made 18 good pieces, and did 0 scrap amongst those 3 operations that she logged into, 3 work sessions. So we got the same thing going on here. You can see some of this data is bunk because it's just our sample database and whatnot. So, but we got the same thing going on here with Mark Everest. His work with PO number 2000. We got those all grouped together, and then we got Mark Everest grouped together, so we can do a subtotal and see that he did 92 minutes worth of work across PO number 2000. So that's it. That's the process of going from a work session report, posting it over to a CSV file, pulling into Excel, and then using our sort functions and our subtotal functions here on our data tab to do some cool work and kind of look at the numbers a little bit differently and do some subtotals. You can apply this concept to lots of different reports in Realtrac and kind of play around with your data and do some more insights and run regular reports that may allow you to analyze your data better. So thanks for watching.